When I was growing up, I grew up, okay, I was born in the 50s. So I grew up when, from my experience, there were very healthy relationships happening with the black males and females. They were my guardians. Uh, there was high character. I mean, really excellence in character. And what was the topic we had the other night?
Reestablishing the code of conduct.
Right, right. So people's conduct, everybody was like behaving on this real high level of respect. First for themselves, and of course, since they had it for themselves, it emanated, to others, and then that bounced back to them. I mean, that's all I saw. I never saw.
Dysfunctional.
I never saw women and men of our community in the 50s. I didn't hear cursing. I didn't hear any form of disrespect. But then back then, children were not around all adult settings. You see what I'm saying? So they even had a code as far as that was concerned.
Right.
Like when children were around, there was a certain kind of talk that happened.
Right.
There was a decorum that happened. And look, little girls were chaperoned all the time. They were chaperoned with women, around women. So it was the aunt, it was the grandmother, it was the mother, it was the great grandmother. Then it was it was extended family, like
that concept of a village.
yeah,
Exists.
yes,
You experienced
yeah.
that?
So girls were raised by the feminine,
Like females.
the females, yeah. The males were raised by the males. You see, and then we had certain functions that happened on a daily basis where we all came together. You see, so I didn't see women drink alcohol. My mother didn't drink. My nana didn't drink. I didn't see them. Of course, then in the 50s, they weren't using heroin. They weren't using crack. They weren't freebasing. They weren't using angel dust.
What about prostitution?
And I didn't see prostitution. Now, the interesting thing about prostitution in the Harlem community was that there was a prostitute, but it was one on the block. There was this girl that you would hear words like, "Oh, she's a slut," or "She's a hussy," but it was one.
Nah, I remember
No.
when I was in school.
Yeah.
You had them on your hand.
You would have like the Harlem community consist of what, maybe 1 million black women, and out of the 1 million black women from 110th Street all the way up to like 155th to Polar Grounds, from east to west, it was one slut. That whole, I mean, really, it was. I'm serious. I swear. Now, yeah.
They're competing.
Yeah. So that was the situation. So you're saying that the majority of women were carrying themselves, they had a character of excellence, and I called that like true wealth.
Right.
And not only that, they were healthy. I mean, these women, they had really,
Good stock, right?
yeah,
So,
the physique was amazing,
regardless of the diet.
Yeah, irregardless of, because we were physical. We were
Right.
physical. We jumped double dutch.
Roller skate, yeah.
We roller skated. We used to swing
yeah.
in those swings and pump and do. I mean, there was a lot of physical activity, and nobody was sitting around playing on the computer. There was no Facebook. There was no FaceTime. There was no MySpace. It was none of that. It was like, face to face physicality going on all the time, and there was all kind of games we played. You see, so there was that constant interaction with one another. Like heartfelt. You're looking in each other's eye. You're playing. You're playing marbles.
Yeah.
The guys.
Remember that?
The guys were on the scooters. They would make these scooters out of the crates. You see what I mean? And
Go-karts.
raise go-karts, right? So I'm telling you, it was like a village full of creativity all the time. And I'm telling you, everybody was happy all the time because everything that you really participated in brought it was coming from the heart chakra.
Right.
So it just produced like like waves of happiness and joy, and then you could be gay. Because gay meant something else when I was five. And they said, "Oh, she's just so gay and she's so merry." It meant that you were happy.
Right.
It didn't mean I was having sex with another woman. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
When did
So
that happen?
so the word the meaning of gay changed. You see, over time. Yeah, because if somebody said, "Oh, Annette, I saw her last night and she was at this party and she was so merry and she's gay, she was gay," then the word would be, "Oh my God, Mama Pill is a homo, she's got a girl." That's what people would be saying. Instead of that, "Oh, she was happy and jolly and smiling and she just was oozing, exuding like this joy and radiance." You see what I'm saying? That's not what it means anymore. So anyway, I am just going back, like talking about my childhood because given in context, because that was what I saw. You see, so I initially, because that was my example, I initially was that kind of female too. I didn't drink, I didn't curse, and so when I started a relationship with a brother, I really was. I wasn't like angry. I wasn't an angry female. I was happy, I was happy and go lucky. And many times brothers would say that about, "Oh my God, you're so different, And then I also was like my natural self. Because when I grew up, the women didn't wear a lot of makeup. They some of them had their natural hair. But they did do straightening. You see what I'm saying? But there was no perm. They did some perming, but it was more pressing hair than it was perming hair, and there definitely was no weaves. So every now and then you saw a woman, they did do a wig or something like that. But for the most part, women had their own natural beauty. The face wasn't all covered up. So I don't know, I'm just thinking that the relationships were healthier because the person was healthier. The male and the females, they just were healthier. And that's not to say there weren't some dysfunctional relationships going on in the Harlem community, but for the most part, there was harmony and peace amongst male and females, from little toddlers all the way up to grown people, because we mimicked what the older people were doing. That's how you learn. The older people teach younger people. We teach. That's why you have to be careful how you behave around children. So that's why now that I'm several, like alive, like I'm 60 now, and I hear people saying, they say all of these disparaging remarks about the generations, the younger generation. I'm saying, like, what's wrong with these people? Where do you think they learned all of this from?
Right.
They learned it from adults or older people. That's where they learned the cursing. They learned the whole concept of how you treat a male and how you treat a female, and what they learned all of this from older people. So if we're living in a time where girls are thinking that the kind of relationship they're supposed to have with men is that all males are sugar daddies, it's because some older woman taught her that. Taught her that.
But she observed it in the social.
Oh yeah, or she observed some women doing that in her own family or in the community. Or on TV, because now, as I said, when we were coming up, we didn't watch TV. Every now and then you saw a program,
Okay.
but you didn't sit in front of the TV the way.
Having a TV watch you.
No, that wasn't the way it was. So, fast forward 3-4 generations, 2015, it's a whole different kind of thing going on. You know what I'm saying? Where people are really operating under programs. So this is why we see what we see, because you have somebody like 2 years old, and they're put in front of the TV from 2 years old, and that's like where they stay for like 12, 13 hours a day. So they're seeing all of that, they're hearing narrative, and they're seeing action to go with the narrative, and they don't have the interaction like I had with my grandmother and the women in my community. No. So they are recording.
Conscious is open, recorded for the first
They're
time.
recording all of that. So then you get upset because the child curse, you see, or you get upset because maybe they watch. Because when MTV came on and they started all of those videos where the videos started to become soft porn.
Yes.
And then so you have a little 3-year-old, she's standing up and she's mimicking what she sees on the video, the dancers, and she's gyrating in a very sexual way, and people are like,
Trying to smack it out of
trying to smack it out of, or the other side of that is that they're promoting it.
Right.
Oh, she's so cute. Oh, look at her.
Seen both sides. Yeah.
So I seen both sides. So I say all of that to say that what's going on between black women and black men, and I think Bobby Hemmett knows it, is part of it is a programming. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything that it's not deliberate. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything deliberate between black women and women that they deliberately hate each other, from their heart and soul and spirit. That's ridiculous to think that that's the case. It's like my mentor, my teacher, Sabi. I mean, he's about the closest, or he's one of the males that really get it. You see? Because he always tells that story about how his mother comes from the jungle, meaning, she came out of the tropical region of the planet. Originally, his great-great-grandmother, that was her environment. So in that environment, there was no prostitution. She didn't have no sugar daddy that she had to sleep with in order to get money to pay, her electric bill, her car note, her mortgage. None of that existed. You see? So it wasn't that kind of game going on. He's about the only one that tells that truth, and he's the only one that puts it in that perspective, that we have to look at what happened, guys, because our great-grandmother didn't do all of this stuff. So how you going to be mad at these sisters? Because her great-great-grandmother didn't do any of this when she was in her natural environment. But now she's not in her natural environment. She's in this concrete world, where she's being programmed. You got to have money, you see, for food, for gas, to keep your house warm. Right. Where all of that in the jungle was there. It's just there. You see what I'm saying? A mango tree got over 5,000 mangoes on it. You know what I'm saying? So who's dealing? Nobody's growing up with lack, with that kind of concept of lack. So all of that stuff about lack and needing money and not having enough money, that's all a program that somebody designed. You see, working 9 to 5, 40 hours, only making $8 an hour. You know what I'm saying? Making sure you have to come back on Monday. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not enough. All of that's by design. So Bobby Hemmett was around in the 50s and 60s where there were systematic programs developed to remove the brothers from the home. I mean, I know it. I just say all of this to say is that it, like I said, it's not the nature of black men and women to not get along. You see? And for black women to be angry and difficult. She's burnt out. That's basically what it is. She burnt out. She's suffering from malnutrition. She's iron deficient. You know how many women I know that they say they have a period and it lasts for like 7 to 14 days. That's hemorrhaging. That's serious. And you started menstruating when you was like 14 years old, and now you're 45?
Let me ask this question. I was going to ask this later on, but since you talked about the menstrual cycle, some people, there's like this debate within the health community and the spiritual community. Some people say that the period, when you get into health, some people say that the period is unnatural and that if the woman eats right, she would never have a menstrual cycle. Some of the spiritualists say that the menstrual cycle is a spiritual thing, so don't listen to that. That's the wrong way of thinking. A woman is supposed to have a menstrual cycle, and in antiquity, they would do certain things when a woman had the menstrual cycle because they knew it was a time of great power for that woman. So I guess it's like the vegan community versus the spiritual community as far as whether the menstrual is natural or unnatural, or whether the woman should have it in the first place. So what's your take on that?
Well, when you know anatomy and physiology, you know that when a woman is ovulating, if the egg is not fertilized, the body discards it, and that's all that is. So that only takes like maybe 24 to 32 hours. I mean, it takes like a day or two for that egg to be aborted and just shedded. But if you're unhealthy, then the body's in that cleansing mode, so it'll just try to clean out as much as it can, while it's in the cleansing mode. So that's why these women have these periods that last like anywhere from 7 to 14 days, because the body is trying to cleanse itself. Yeah. So I don't know what the vegan people are talking about, that, we're not supposed to, the body's not going to shed an unfertilized eggs. I don't understand what that is.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk in the mainstream media lately as far as about how women should dress. The most famous the MVP of the NBA right now, Stephen Curry, his wife came out the other day and said women should dress more modest. Early in the year, Farrakhan said Jay-Z should cover Beyonce up more. Amber Rose had a slut walk saying that women should have more freedom and they should be able to dress how they want because men should dress how they want. Coming from a woman's perspective, do you think a woman's dress code has anything at all to do with her behavior or how she should be viewed in society? Because there's a debate that we used to be naked in Africa. It's this European mindset that has us thinking that the woman is supposed to be all covered up. So what do you think about a woman's dress code in 2015? Is it all right for a woman to wear, show some cleavage and wear a mini skirt? Or do you think she should be covered up at all times?
I'm glad you asked me that question, because I have been wanting to talk about this for quite some time now, but I've been talking to it with other females I know in Atlanta, and I said, we gotta get out of here and start talking. So this is right on time. All right, so I'm gonna go back again to when I was a little girl, what women were doing. I told people all you got to do is go on YouTube and put in that footage of like the 30s and the 40s, and you see just Harlem, and just see how they walking down the street. See how the black women and men are walking down the street in Harlem in the 30s and the 40s. I mean, clean. They are clean. I'm telling you. And all those clothes you see they have on, all that stuff was tailor-made. Because they was not going to Macy's. They were not going to Bloomingdale's in the malls, because that didn't exist. They were tailors and seamstress. And all women in the family had a sewing machine, and they all knew how to sew. So all that stuff was tailor-made to the body. And when I just look at Harlem Nights. You know the movie Harlem Nights? That'll answer your question. All those women were covered up. Modestly. Even Sunshine. Remember her?
Yeah, I remember.
She was all covered up. Sunshine had a little thing on when she was in that bar and she was walking up to that Italian. Oh, man. He was gone. I mean, he called his wife and said, I ain't coming home.
Right. So,
remember that?
yeah. So, a lot of women equate femininity and sexuality with the lessening of clothes and wardrobe, showing more skin. When I remember when I was growing up, there used to be, a exuberance of femininity you know what I'm saying, a sister could have on 3/4. And just how she was swaying her hips and that level of magnetism that she was giving off, and she could have a sheepskin on, you know what I'm saying, and you still got it.
Right. Listen. Again, in the black community in the 50s when I was growing up, the one girl who was walking around showing her cleavage and maybe wearing something that like these little spandex pants that the ladies wear that look like if she had on pantyhose, that's how she would look. But they just using a thicker material, spandex. But it's like if you putting on your stockings. It shows that outline of the body. Like you had the only people who wore that kind of outfit were dancers who were coming back and forth from the dance studio. And they had they had the leotard on and they had the big like oversized like top, sweater, t-shirt on over it.
Like flash dance.
Yeah, yes. But you saw the body of you see the body of a dancer, right? Okay. All right. So fast forward 2015 where we are today. We can go on 125th Street, we can see a woman 300 pounds and she has that outfit on. Now, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. This is not right. I don't care what anybody says. She's free to do whatever she wants, but that is not right. Okay? And as I said, when I was growing up, there was one woman in the community that they said she was a slut, and she had her costume. That was this one woman that dressed like that. Now, her costume is the popular costume that the girls are wearing.
About it.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. So it's flipped.
Right.
It's flipped. It has flipped.
But so you're talking a lot about when you grew up, and I understand that because that's your foundation. That's what you know. Yeah. But then we're identifying where we are as a society, and we know things flipped because you're talking about a time that was BC. It was before crack. So here we are, you know what I'm saying? AD after the destruction, you know what I'm saying? And we're looking at a situation that really is topsy-turvy. So now the exception is the rule. And here we are. We have what we have. So how do we deal with reality as it is?
Let me say this. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about this. About the sisters who are wearing no clothes versus the sisters that are all covered up. And this whole, like this whole, like this in the conscious community, this is going on. Like, because, you know, we're not just all the conscious community. There's other little, you know, groups and sects and all of this in amongst our people. But I'm talking about the conscious community. Since the 70s, I was aware of a group of our sisters in the conscious community that were all learning about their goddess self. Mm-hmm. All right? So this is a very, very popular movement, yes, right? Where women are learning to be goddesses. They're learning to tap into their tantric sexual powers and all this kind of stuff, right? And you can go on YouTube and you can see them gyrating with no clothes on. You know what I'm saying? Like they're in the bedroom with their husband or lover or whatever, and it's just like a private dancing. But no, it's not that. They're on YouTube where millions of people are seeing them, and they have Facebook pages where this is all they're doing. They have videos. You tap the video and she's there gyrating like for hours. with a bra on and a pair of panties, right? Yeah. But she's saying that she will come to a city near you and teach you how to be a goddess and tap into your tantric self, right? But I said this, all the movies in Hollywood that depict goddesses from eons ago, those women are all covered up. Cleopatra, Nefertiti's. They got on silk and satin in all those movies. Now, it may be a Caucasian playing the part, but we already know because of Dr. Ben and all those historians that those women were my color, right? But those women are all covered up. And then there's this whole, then yeah, and they got it. These were real goddesses now. They ain't like these girls on Facebook. They ain't got a castle. They ain't got no gold. They ain't got rubies and diamonds. They don't have none of that. They actually, some of them go in and working a job. But they're goddesses on Facebook. And they go around the United States and they give workshops for hundreds of dollars to teach people's daughters how to be like them. So I'm just saying it don't make sense because okay, if you're a goddess, you're replicating something that existed in the past. So I want to know what movie that we ever saw or what artifacts we ever saw where the woman is in a bikini, bra and panty, right? And you may be seeing like, okay, like on the pyramid walls, where on the pyramid walls do you see women gyrating in a bra and panties? Where you see that? You know how they have the picture, the sequential pictures of whatever the action is going on? Those women in those pictures are draped from the waist down with linen and they have on tops. So something else.
Yeah, they're seductive. But
yeah, something else is going on with all of that.
Their root chakras are bust open.
Yeah, something's going on with all of that. Okay, because trust me, I have about 4 or 5 granddaughters. From like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not sending none of my granddaughters to those girls to learn how to be a goddess. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to see my granddaughters on Facebook and on YouTube doing all of that because that is private. You see what I'm saying? That's private. That's private behavior for your mate. That's not for the world to see. So it's like these kinds of things are happening and nobody's talking about it. So they're able to do it because nobody's calling them on it. You see what I'm saying? But check it out. Her mother's not with her. I ain't never seen one of them girls where their mother is standing up there doing all of that with them, undressed, practically nude. So it's like, why isn't it good for the mother?
I've seen some other footage with moms, but you wouldn't want to see that.
No, we're not even talking about the real X-rated stuff because I have people talk. I'm just talking about, I'm saying her mother's never at the workshop where she says, okay, I taught this to my mother. My mother's a goddess now. Watch my mother do her thing.
But this is what I'm saying. Are we identifying the fact that some of these children can be children of already compromised households where the mother is not around, and some of these young ladies have fell into the persuasions of the street or what have you, and then because of their early interaction outside of the mode of what you're talking about, their root chakras have already been activated and they get into a little bit of consciousness, and this is how they're expressing themselves.
I'm gonna say this too. There's another sickness that has plagued our community for several generations, and what has sprung out of that is like these kinds of sexual, it's like this. Anyway, it's the sexual molestation that a lot of sisters have had that experience from brothers, fathers, uncles. Yeah. And so what I've heard from some of these young ladies who are these now into these tantric, they have tapped into their tantric energy and their goddess energy, and they're using these devices like they have one that a couple of them they're into these yoni eggs. It's like this stone they put up in their womb, their vaginal canal, and they say it's it's a healing thing. Well, a lot of these girls were molested. I know one of them I saw on YouTube. She was kind of like the pioneer, and she was sexually molested. So she claims that the yoni egg, inserting it in her vagina, helped her to heal from the psychological, physical, mental trauma of the molestation. You see what I'm saying? And so, a lot of these women that show up at these events have have the similar background, you know. So like I said, a lot of dysfunctionalism, you know, that has happened, and as a result of it, you know, we have, you know, all these different things, like, you know, that have sprung off, you know, from dysfunctionalism, injury, damage, pain, shame, and in a sense of women not loving themselves, because, you know, this is the foundation. Somebody's 4 or 5 years old and somebody's molesting them, and that's all they've ever known. So, you know,